Once upon a time, in a small town called Elmwood, there lived a young student named Alex. Alex was a bright and curious child who loved learning. However, as time went by, he found himself struggling with motivation. The weight of assignments, tests, and expectations started to take a toll on his enthusiasm for education. One gloomy Monday morning, as Alex sat in his classroom, his teacher, Mrs. Johnson, noticed his lack of enthusiasm. She knew she had to do something to reignite the spark within him. After the class ended, Mrs. Johnson approached Alex and asked him to stay back for a moment. "Alex, I've noticed that you seem a little down lately. Is everything all right?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. Alex sighed, his eyes downcast. "I don't know, Mrs. Johnson. I used to love learning, but lately, it all feels so overwhelming. I feel like I'm losing my motivation." Mrs. Johnson nodded understandingly. She had seen this happen to many students before. She realized that it was crucial to help Alex regain his motivation and passion for learning. She decided to share a story with him, hoping it would inspire him. "Alex, let me tell you about a boy named Benjamin. Benjamin was just like you, a bright student who lost his motivation. One day, he stumbled upon an old, dusty book in his school library. It was called The Journey of Knowledge." Intrigued, Alex leaned forward, eager to hear more. Benjamin opened the book and started reading. The pages were filled with stories of students who faced challenges but persevered with determination. The stories talked about the importance of finding purpose and setting goals. They inspired Benjamin to reflect on his own journey as a student. Mrs. Johnson continued, "Benjamin decided to set a goal for himself. He wanted to become a scientist and make a positive impact on the world. With newfound motivation, he started setting small, achievable targets for his studies. Every time he reached one of those goals, he rewarded himself with something he enjoyed, like a visit to the park or time with friends." As the days went by, Alex listened intently to Mrs. Johnson's story. He could feel a glimmer of hope igniting within him. Benjamin also realized that surrounding himself with a supportive network of friends and mentors was essential. They cheered him on during his accomplishments and encouraged him during his setbacks. They reminded him that it was okay to ask for help and that setbacks were a part of the learning process. Mrs. Johnson paused for a moment, observing Alex's reaction. His eyes were sparkling with a newfound determination. But the most important lesson Benjamin learned from the journey of knowledge was that learning should be a joyful experience. He started exploring topics that fascinated him, incorporating creativity into his projects, and discovering the wonders of the world around him. He found that the more he enjoyed the process of learning, the more motivated he became. Alex's face lit up with excitement. "So, you're saying that I should set goals for myself, find a supportive network, and make learning enjoyable?" Mrs. Johnson smiled warmly. "Exactly, Alex. Remember, your journey as a student is unique, and it's up to you to find what inspires and motivates you. And as your teacher, I'm here to guide and support you every step of the way." From that day forward, Alex embarked on his own journey of rediscovering his motivation. He set goals, both big and small, and found joy in every lesson he learned. He formed study groups with his classmates, where they encouraged and challenged each other. Alex's passion for learning blossomed, and his grades started to improve. Years later, as Alex stood on the stage during his high school graduation, he couldn't help but think of Mrs. Johnson and the impact she had on his life. She had believed in him when he needed it the most and helped him find his way back to his love for learning. As he accepted his diploma, Alex made a promise to himself to pay it forward. He would become a teacher one day, just like Mrs. Johnson, and inspire students who had lost their motivation to find their way back to the joy of learning. And so, the story of Alex, the student who regained his motivation, became an inspiration to many others who faced similar struggles. His journey showed them that with determination, support, and a passion for learning, they too could overcome any obstacle and find success in their education.